Good evening. I'm going to be focusing on some high-level principles that should be kept in mind when designing security systems, in particular surveillance systems. Unfortunately, there is a myth that is perpetuated amongst many that NGOs, especially those NGOs that receive foreign funding, are opposed in principle to surveillance. This is the myth that is perpetuated. This is not true. NGOs, including my research organization, fully accepts that surveillance is an essential component of any security system. I think of it almost like salt in cooking. Surveillance in small quantities is essential to a modern information society. So let us go through some of the design principles that might have to be considered when one is engineering a surveillance regime. There is interception, legal interception requests. Suppose Bangalore airport is under terrorist attack or it has caught fire, and it is important for relief providing agencies or for the police to be able to intercept all phone lines that are using a particular set of cell towers. With the current understanding, at least that I have, of the Telegraph Act, it is not possible for the police to instantaneously, immediately, get such a legal interception request. So there are many areas where surveillance in the country, effective surveillance in the country, is hindered because there is no enabling policy to allow that to happen. The second design principle that I would focus on is some people confuse interoperability with centralization. They are not the same thing. If different security agencies would like to share information, it is not necessarily so that you have to bring all the information together and store it in a centralized location. Especially my panelists here, who come from a security or a military background, will fully appreciate the principle need-to-know basis, that authorized officials know what they know, but only on a need-to-know basis. Unfortunately, in the enthusiasm that some corporations have to sell ICT technology solutions, etc., a centralized solution is more expensive, needs more resources. Therefore, a centralization agenda is being pushed alongside what should have been purely an interoperability agenda. The next myth or design principle to understand is that more technology or the latest technology does not guarantee more security. For example, if you were at the Bangalore airport again, and you're speaking to a vendor of X-ray machines or bomb detection equipment, and if you ask that vendor how many X-ray machines I should buy, the vendor will give you the number which is in his sales target. So it doesn't mean that if we put 10,000 X-ray scanners into Bangalore Airport is going to become 10,000 times more secure. In fact, it will have the reverse effect. Security is often designed in a holistic manner. Often those helping citizens through the security procedure are also subjected to surveillance. If you are crossing the American border, of course you give your biometrics, but both you, the citizen giving the biometrics, and the security officer authenticating you, both of you are under CCTV surveillance. And that is why the US border is considered secure, because there is a holistic approach to solving the security problem, not an approach that purely depends on adding more and more technology. I'll end with two more small but important design principles. The principle of using open source software. In open source software, we are sure that we are safe because security is guaranteed through transparency. If you're using purely proprietary software, then you're not really sure you are safe because you are safe only through obfuscation. The vendor of the proprietary software is telling you that you're safe, but there is no way you can verify that. Increasingly across the world, governments ask for code escrow. That means if they were to use a particular technology, they would want that source code deposited with a party that they trust, a party that can audit the code. Increasingly across the world, when governments ask corporations to build bespoke solutions, they ask for the code to be deposited and for the licensing agreement to ensure that the government has full ownership of the new intellectual property that has been created using public funding. And this is how governments are able to ensure for themselves, do the audits, and make sure that there is no backdoor in e-governance systems. And whether we were building surveillance systems for security or for developmental reasons, using open source would be a critical component of getting things right. Ushahidi, the platform used in Haiti after the disaster struck, is an open source solution, and it would be very easy, for example, for the government here in India to import that solution and use it at minimum incremental costs. Open standards has been a theme through the day. You've heard many speakers allude to open standards. The Indian government has provided great leadership. The Department of Information Technology has published the National Open Standards Policy, and also most recently the Interoperability Framework for E-Governance. And that is up for comment, and within the next 15 days, if you send your comments, that policy document will be strengthened. The IFEG has a variety of security standards that must be adopted by e-governance, especially in service-oriented architecture, and it would be wonderful if all our collective experience were laid to bear on that document and improve it. Our expertise as a research organization doesn't come only from working within India. I have done e-governance advisory work through the UNDP for multiple governments, most recently for the government of Iraq. And I have helped design their government interoperability framework and national enterprise architecture. And security in Iraq, may I assure you, is utmost in the minds of policymakers, given the constant terrorist attacks. So it is a myth that civil society is opposed to the security agenda. We completely endorse and support it. What we would want is that more research and more evidence is used to inform this agenda, not just the marketing spiel of vendors. Thank you so much.